everyone, my name is Tung Chi, member of Group 1. My group consists of 5 members, including Phương Anh, Mai Anh, Hai Châu, Tung Chi, and Yên Chi. Today we are here to present to you about stress in English. Our presentation is divided into 4 parts. We will start with levels of stress. Then we will look at word stress placement, next weak form and strong form, and finally sentence stress. And do you know what stress means? It's one of the most important pronunciation points in English. When you speak English, do other people find it difficult to understand what you are saying? If so, you might not be using stress correctly. Pronouncing words with the correct stress can make a big difference to your English. Your English will immediately sound clearer and more natural. And now I'm going to talk about levels of stress. There are 4 main levels of stress: primary stress, secondary stress, half stress, and unstressed. For the sake of convenience, half stress can be merged with unstressed, and both of them are usually referred to as unstressed. So, I'll just analyze 3 levels of stress: primary stress, secondary stress, and unstressed, so that it can be easier for us to understand. Primary stress is the strong emphasis. A speaker puts on the most important syllable of a particular word. Primary stress is represented with a high mark. Secondary stress is a less strong emphasis on the next most important syllable. Secondary stress with a low mark. Unstressed is any syllable that receives no stress. Unstressed with no mark. For example, examination. Name is primary stress. Z is secondary stress. Engine are unstressed. In English, stressed and unstressed syllable can be distinguished by difference in length, pitch, loudness, or vowel quality. The syllable with the primary stress is the loudest and longest syllable in the word. It had a very noticeable change in pitch on the vowel. Secondary stress is the syllable that are stressed, but not as much the primary stress. So they are loud and long with a change in pitch, but not as loud or as long as the syllable that get the primary stress. The change in pitch on the vowel is not quite as noticeable. Unstressed is the syllable that have no stress at all, so we rush through them and shorten them so much that the vowel in the syllable is almost completely gone. The change in pitch on the vowel is barely noticeable, but it is there. And now take a look at the following table. This table shows you the rule clearly. Next is a video analyzing some examples of these parts for us to better understand.
And the lowercase letters represent the unstressed syllables, or those words that you cut, reduce, or rush through. That's stress level 3. Now let's take a look at the difference between levels 1 and 2, or the primary and secondary stress first. You have to linger on both syllables, yes. But for the syllable right here, this syllable with the primary stress, you have to linger a little bit more. You have to make the vowel just a little bit longer, and that change in pitch has to be just a little more obvious. So listen as I say both of the words slowly, and I want you to imitate exactly what I do. Find a really big change in pitch on the strongest syllable, or the syllable with the primary stress. Make it so exaggerated that you feel uncomfortable. This is not the way I want you to say it in a regular conversation. We're going to work up to that. But I want you to get comfortable with exaggerating the strongest syllable. Make it louder, longer, with an obvious change in pitch. Geography.
Well, I've told you about levels of stress, and now we will move on to word stress placement. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Frank, and I'll go ahead and talk a little about word stress placement. And there are many words with one syllable, and if they carry content, we stress them. However, if the words have two or more syllables, we need to find out where the stress is. And in English, word stress is very difficult to predict, since there are so many sections. And so we have two parts. One is primary stress depending on which word class it is, and number two is primary stress depending on which component it's combined with. And about in the primary stress depending on which word class it is, we have three parts. One is in most two syllable nouns or adjectives is will be stressed on the first syllable, and this video below here will show some examples.
First of all, nouns. Monday, city, music, laptop, country, table, color, future, kitchen, etc. I could go on and on, there are many. And some adjectives: easy, happy, modern, open, funny.
Number two, two-syllable verb often stressed on the second syllable.
More examples: receive, explain, repeat, reply, correct, begin, forget.
Number three, two-syllable verbs or nouns, an identical spelling but the word changes. This is some example. Part two, the primary stress depending on which component it combined with. First, words ending in ik, shin, and jin. They're always stressed on in the second to last syllable. Are words ending in c, t, g, v, and h always play their stress on third from last syllable. For example, accountancy, sincerity, chronology. The root is true for all verbs and adjectives ending in "ate". For example, communicate, differentiate, fortunate. Number six, words ending in "earth". Words ending in "earth" with two syllables have their stress on the first syllable. For example, famous, gracious, jealous, jealous. English words ending in "earth" with four syllables usually have their stress on the second syllable. For example, luxurious, luxurious, continuous, continuous. Words ending in "earth" with three or more syllables don't always flourish that straight rhythm. For example, serious, first syllable, and enormous, second syllable. This following will be some more cases about the primary stress depending on which component it combined with. And the last, the table below will show you about the surfaces take the primary stress on. Thank you. And the next part, we are going to discuss about stress pattern on compound words.
Hi guys, I'm Châu. Now I will talk about stress patterns on compound word. Do you know what compound word means? Typically, an English compound word has two parts. Two different words combined together. As identification of primary stress can be based on its morphological structure. Number one, main stress on first part. In compound noun, both components, both words are stressed. Primary stress falls on the first component, the first word, even if two words are written separately. Usually, the second component is a noun, and the first component may be a noun, a gerund, or a verb. Example: noun as noun, armchair, mailbox, football. Verbing as noun, swimming pool, writing desk, sitting room. Noun as verbing, bird watching, hat hunting, film making. Verb as noun, ride baby, breakthrough, kill joy. Please watch short video below to understand better.
Rule number 5 for word stress. Compound nouns. Compound nouns, just like the nouns in rule number 1, are usually stressed on the first syllable. Remember, compound nouns are nouns created out of two nouns put together. Let's have a look at some examples. Football. It's not football, but football. Stress on the first syllable. More examples. Boyfriend, girlfriend, car park, post office, toothbrush, chopsticks, headache, lunchtime.
For the compound adjective, these combinations have the primary stress on the first component. They usually written as one word. Example: airtight, carefree. Or they have combination of noun with inform or past participle. Noun as inform, time consuming, fee paying. Noun as past participle, health, related, bear, shaped. Number 2, main stress on the second part. For compound noun, the second part is the primarily stressed in these patterns. Adjective as noun. Example: fat, food, greenhouse, dark room. Adjective as verb in. Example: global warming, central heating. Past participle as noun. Lost property, inverted market. For compound adjectives, both parts of compound adjective are stressed. Stronger stress usually falls on the second component of two word compound adjectives in these following structures. Noun as adjective. Example: snow white, ice cold, sky blue. Adjective as noun. Long term, full length. Adjective or adverb as past participle. Well known,
long-sighted. Adjective or adverb add in from. Good looking, easy going. Please watch the short video below to understand better.
Rule number 6 for word stress. Compound adjectives. Those are adjectives put together to form a new adjective with a new meaning. Often they have a little hyphen in between. Those adjectives are usually stressed on the second syllable, the second word. Here are some examples. Hard-working, part-time, long distance, well-behaved, open-minded, brand new, ice cold, old-fashioned.
Next, we will come to weak form and strong form.
Hello everyone. Before starting weak form and strong form part, I have some questions for you guys. So why is it so hard to understand native English speaker? Or maybe you can understand some native English speaker but not at all. I know it is a hard question, but don't worry. This is a very common problem and I will help you guys to answer this question right now. So what are weak form and strong form? It is very common to use strong form and weak form when speaking in English because English is a short-time language. In English, there are certain words that can be pronounced in two ways, known as weak form and strong form. In spoken English, to make the natural rhythm of the utterance, certain words can be classified into two types. The first one is the content word, including noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. And the last one is the functional word, pronoun, conjunction, determiner, auxiliary, and modal verb. Normally, in a sentence, the content words are fully stressed, whereas the functional words are unstressed or pronounced in the weak form. And using proper strong form and weak form can help you to speak English more fluently. Now, to answer the questions which I argue, why it is so hard to understand native English speaker, or maybe you can understand some native English speaker but not at all, let's dive into this object, weak form. Like I have talked to you guys, words which have a weak form are often grammar words. Words which carry the main meaning of the sentence don't usually have a weak form. That means most noun, verb, adjective don't have a weak form. But the functional words such as preposition, pronoun, conjunction, or auxiliary verb. Functional words are normally used in their weak form with the vowel pronounced as swa, so they are very weak and sometimes quite difficult for learners of English to hear properly. So, while the detail and example have been rephrased, here are our answer. It is possible to use only strong form in speaking, but most native speakers of English find all strong form pronunciation unnatural and frozen sounding, something that most learners would wish to avoid. The second one, English speakers use weak form all time. Every single sentence is full of them. And even more confusing is that because the words are far, English speakers change the sound in the word to make them easier to pronounce. This is especially true for American English speakers who tend to be lazy with their mouth. And one possible reason could be that we have never been taught weak form. Therefore, we don't have any ideas what the weak form is, and we do not use in their speech. Well, that's worth a lot to explain, But I hope now you can understand how important and necessary about weak form. The letter H. You will hear some natives dropping the letter H on weak form a word, such as him, her, he, his, has, and you will hear im, is, are. But I desperately recommend that try to pronounce your H when you're learning a standard British English accent. For example, what's his name? She hasn't visited England before. Strong form is a proper pronunciation, but sometimes the proper pronunciation do not show how people speak, so we have to learn the weak form. The strong form is unusually used in everyday English conversation, especially when speaking fast. But there are many situations you have to speak in strong form for the following circumstances here. Number 1, when it is at the end of sentence. For example, what are you looking at? Where are you from? Number 2, in the contrast situation, he like her, but does she like him? The letter is from him, not to marry. Number 3, when it is cited, she is very hard-working, but not very smart. We were wet and tired. Number 4, stress on the purpose of the meaning. I must get some sleep. I must phone my sister. And that's all about strong form. Now, let's take a look at the table of weak form and strong form to understand better. So, the very best way to learn to hear weak form and strong form is to learn to speak them. If you can pronounce sentences with this pattern, you will hear them better. And English teachers can have you do this, or you can imitate what you hear in recording and videos. The reverse is also true. The better you can hear English, the better you will be able to pronounce it. In closing, I hope this part helps you understand one of the main reasons why spoken English can be so hard to understand. And the last but not least, let's go to sentence stretch.
Hi everyone, my name is Ji, a member of Group 1. I will continue the presentation. Stretch is very important for your English pronunciation. Pronouncing sentence stretch correctly will make a big difference to your English pronunciation. You can be more confident and more natural when you're speaking English. Let's get started. Firstly, let's find out what sentence stretch is. Sentence stretch can be defined as a prominence with which one or more words in the sentence are pronounced as opposed to the other word in the same sentence. It can be said that sentence stretch is the music of spoken language, and it is what gives English rhythm or beat. Normally, content words are stressed and grammatical or function words are unstressed. My aunt has already clarified this part in the previous session, so I will move on to the next part. English has stressed time rhythm, which means that stressed syllables tend to occur at relatively regular intervals, whether they are separated by unstressed syllable or not, as opposed to the syllable time Vietnamese language, where each syllable takes roughly the same amount of time. The stressed time rhythm theory states that the time duration from each stressed syllable to the next tend to be the same, irrespective of the number
of intervening unstressed syllable. For example, they asked the teachers for help. Again, they asked the teacher for help. In the sentence above, the duration of time from 1 to 2 is the same as just from 2 to 3. However, note that grammatical work are sometimes stressed for emphasis by placing emphasis on certain words. The speaker shows his or her point of view or important piece of information he or she wants to convey. Mr. K's short video below will help you better understand. Let's watch it.
Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. I've just read that in a very neutral tone of voice without any sentence stress. But if the question that comes before is who is going to go to the airport, the stress will naturally be on the word Tom. So Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. So you can hear I stress the word Tom because that's the key word here. We're not talking about James, Linda, or anybody else. We're making it very clear that it's definitely Tom that will be going to the airport. Now, if the question that comes before is how will Tom get to the airport, then the stress will naturally be on the word drive. Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. The stress on this word makes it very clear that Tom will not be cycling or taking a taxi or getting to the airport in any other way. The stress here is very clearly on the word drive. If the question is where is Tom going on Monday, then the stress will naturally be placed on the word airport. Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. The stress here also makes it very clear to our listener that Tom will not be driving to any other places, such as the train station or a shopping centre, just the airport. Now, if the question is when will Tom go to the airport, of course the stress will naturally go on the word Monday. Tom will drive to the airport on Monday. By emphasising the word Monday, we're making it very clear to our listener that this will only be happening on Monday and not on any other day of the week.
In this course, some words are more important and then are more prominent than others because they convey new information, shows contrast, or just draw special attention. For instance, 1. How do you feel about the film? It's very boring. 2. Do you like this sauce or that one? This one, please. 3. Where are you going on holiday? I'm just thinking of traveling to Singapore. Now, let's review what we've learned. As you can see from this example, sentence stress is a very important aspect of communication in English. If stress is not used or used incorrectly, the listener may misinterpret the intended meaning or have difficulty picking out important concepts. If you have any questions about this topic, our group would love to hear from you in the comments. Sincerely, thank you for your listening.